Rob Dauster here. I got Jeff Goodman with me.
Hell no.
John Fink.
Are we still live?
Field of 68 till I die.
I'm sorry, man. I blacked out.
Randolph Children.
DJ Khaled, you not a big DJ Khaled guy?
Hansbrough up and in.
Goodman needs to be fired all the time.
Josh Pastor.
You're going to beat people straight up.
You know the deal.
Drink responsibly tonight. I'll be drinking with you.
Jarrell McNeil.
From the bluest of the blue bloods to the smallest of the mid-majors.
This is Field of 68 after dark.
February the 13th, we welcome you to the Field of 68 After Dark. Love is in the air on this Valentine's Day Eve. I'm John Fanta. It's great to be with you guys tonight. Terrence Oglesby is here. Tyler Hansbrough is here. So we've got an all-ACC panel, and that's right where we begin this evening, gentlemen, because the North Carolina Tar Heels have lost 3 of their last 5 games. 7th-ranked Heels fall tonight 86-79. Signature win, a signature moment for the Orange in Autry's first year. Tyler Hansbrough, your Heels fall tonight, 3rd loss in the last 5 games. So let's start right there. What is going on? What's going wrong with North Carolina right now?
It's very simple, Fanta, and it starts with defense. This team's success is going to be dictated by how well they play defense, and we've talked about that all year. This team is talented. RJ's playing very well, but they're not talented enough to not show up on the defensive end. And when you let a team shoot 62% from the floor, you're not going to win. You're just not going to win unless you have Michael Jordan on your team. We don't have that. So we've got to show up and get back to our defensive principles. That's the first thing that's got to be corrected. But also, I will say, as of lately, we've struggled with late game execution, and we did kind of claw our way back, but when we did, we didn't really have the execution late in the game to really put ourselves in position to win the game. And if you look back, it's kind of been a theme all year with late game execution. It's something that we need to improve on if we want to become the team that wants to make a deep tournament run come March. And you can look at the Kentucky game, we didn't really execute down the stretch there. You look at Georgia Tech, we didn't execute late in the game to get that one either. And then also you look at Duke, we started to let it slip a little bit, but we had a big enough lead. And then obviously Clemson and now Syracuse. So those are my 2 things with this team that we need to clean up. But it all starts with defense, and they've got to get back to their defensive principles if they want to have success.
Yeah, I agree with Tyler because, look, before the last 3 of those last 5, the Tar Heels were top 5 in the country in defense. And now they've slid down to 11th. Hey, guys, look, that's very good. I feel like they can fix it. But they just haven't guarded to the same level as they did the first, 20 games of the season. Something's happened. And I think the Georgia Tech game kind of cracked the door open a little bit just because they were playing Duke next. So you kind of found out their faults. And then kind of the hangover game against Clemson at home where Clemson, quite frankly, to Tyler's point, made a lot of late game plays to seal that game, whether it was offensive rebounds, big-time defensive stops, or timely shots off of those offensive rebounds. It was about finishing out possessions, and North Carolina didn't do that against Clemson. And tonight against Syracuse, if you don't do well at the end of the clock, it's going to be tough for you sometimes because I thought Quadir Copeland, towards the end of the game, that guy was everywhere. I mean, really had a defensive impact, did a nice job there. It's just this North Carolina team's still really talented. And you look at their offensive numbers, they're still really good. They're passing the ball. They're sharing it. They're not turning it over all that much. They're rebounding better. They out-rebounded Syracuse by 9, and they still lost the game. And it has a lot to do with their defense, the ability to play defense without fouling, and then being able to close out possessions, which is a problem for this Carolina team at times.
Terrence, I'm going to challenge you here.
Okay.
That we've seen a blue blood go down on the road. Kansas last night in blowout fashion to Texas Tech. North Carolina tonight to Syracuse, but now it's a skid for North Carolina. Now Kansas has struggled on the road in the Big 12 this year, but a lot of teams have struggled on the road. That's a theme in college hoops. Between Kansas and North Carolina, Terrence Oglesby, who do you trust more?
I think there's a little bit more depth with Carolina than there is with Kansas. And I think that leaves you susceptible whenever you're playing in the NCAA tournament. I'm not saying North Carolina's loaded to the brim with depth either. I just think they can throw maybe a guy or two more out there. It just worries me a little bit as far as Kansas's depth. Both guys, I mean, going down to Lubbock, never an easy place to play, especially when that fan base is rejuvenated, which this year they are, and rightfully so. McCaslin's done a great job. It's just, if I had to pick one team right now, I feel like the defense at Carolina will eventually come back around. We're in February, obviously. If you're going to hit a rut, you need to start getting in the process of getting out of that rut at this point of the season. I think Carolina still has room to be able to do that. And, I would pick Carolina if I had to pick one of the two.
Yeah, I guess, Tyler, my thought process is this. For Carolina, is this a little bit of complacency? When you're having a great year, you just inevitably hit a wall. They'll be all right. They'll be all right in March because when the stakes are higher, they'll be able to be who they've been throughout the majority of the year. Or, as a player, is your mindset going back there, look, it's not who we are. We're falling back into bad habits. And tomorrow morning, we got to watch this game back and say, enough is enough.
Yeah, I exactly agree with on the last case you made there. I don't think it's a time. I don't believe in the whole complacency thing. I think if you're a team that's serious about making a deep tournament run and being a good team and one of these great teams, which I don't think, there's still a lot of unknowns with this team. They're not as talented to say that they're just going to run through the tournament. They need to clean up the defensive end. They need to figure out their rotations. And also, I will say I thought they struggled tonight with the zone. I think they need to figure out a little bit how to handle zones just a little bit better. And I know they put Cadeau on that when they went 3 out, 2 in. They put him as a big right there in that free throw line spot because he's such a good passer. But I think they need to clean up some things and also look at what they can do to really improve and stay hungry and keep improving. I don't think this team can get complacent as soon as any team does that. I don't think there's any team in college right now that's talented enough to be complacent. I think every team, in order to get where they want to get, they need to figure out what they need to improve. In Carolina, obviously, there's something going on that they need to fix and correct if they want to be the team that, they had hopes of being.
Tyler, how much is this on coach at this point of the year? And how much is it on the old dudes in the locker room to just pull people together?
Well, I think it's a tough task. And I think you've got to give Hubert Davis a lot of credit this year. After what he went through last year, I think he's arguably you could say before these, couple losses, he was in the mix for Coach of the Year. And I believe that. And I know I'm a little bit biased here, but I think he's done a great job of blocking out the noise from last year and really getting this team to focus. And the chemistry and the way this team has played this year is much better. But also, this is on the team as well. Okay, you cannot have a coach that needs to coach effort at any point. And I'm not saying that these guys are just going out in games and not showing up, but before the Clemson game, there was a little bit of rumbling that guys weren't really showing up on time or a little happy after the Duke win. That's on the players. Listen, you've got to be disciplined. There's no excuse for not playing with effort or not being on time. I don't care what happens. There's never a good excuse for not showing up on time or playing with effort. And so I don't blame Coach Davis at all. I think he's done a great job, but the players, they need to figure it out. And, I think it's on both of them actually to work and see what they can do to improve.
Here's my statement on the state of North Carolina and Duke. All right. Back in the 2000s and even the 2010s early on, and when you were playing, Terrence, you're never afraid of anybody, but when you were playing, people were deathly afraid of playing Duke in North Carolina. Deathly afraid. There was a fear factor. There was a you're going to be top court against North Carolina and Duke. Right now, in my humble opinion, that doesn't exist. People aren't afraid of North Carolina and Duke. They're both good teams. They're both really good teams. And on their best day, they're great teams. But I'm waiting for the toughness. I'm waiting for the fear factor. And I just feel like there's been flashes of it at UNC where they've punched people in the mouth and have just rode to a win. But you're North Carolina. You got to do this every game. This isn't a show up sometimes type of program. You're a blue blood. We hold you to that standard. And the same can be said of Duke. I think that either one of them, if not both, Terrence, could be sitting in an Elite Eight. And when you get to the Elite Eight, of course you can go to a Final Four. But to get there, you've got to have an edge. North Carolina had it for a while. Duke, I don't know where you stand with these two teams, but do you get what I'm saying? I don't sense that ACC teams are afraid of playing Carolina and Duke.
No, Fanta, and I agree. And you saw that where Armando dominated Clemson at Clemson, and then you saw Armando have a huge game against Duke. And there's been times where, you look at the Georgia Tech game, and then you look at the game Clemson at home. He hasn't, we've seen flashes of how great Armando can be. The consistency and showing up every single night, I think makes that is a huge deal. And if this team wants to be known,